And welcome back, everyone. Pre-recording for Tuesday and into Wednesday. We have from Collis Williams. Oh, is it Collis Williams? Yeah, Collis Williams and Super Savage 789. What if Cooler and King Cold also went to Namek with Vegeta to get immortality? There is a very big reason this is a one-shot. So here's the thing. Frieza we know is powerful, and as full power he was even able to fight for a little while on relative even footing. Goku was still the stronger, but with a Super Saiyan Goku. We also know that Goku was still stronger than Trunks, who was stronger than both King Cold and Frieza when they came to Earth. And in the movie, Cooler even admits his brother had the edge on him in power up until he gained the fourth transformation, which actually probably puts him even over his dad in terms of power, which I believe there is a V-jump power level for Cooler at 410 million. Mind you, the movies are not canon. Before anyone actually says that, no, the guy, the successor to, was it Toriaro? Something like that, said, no, they're all canon. You gotta read that quote right. That quote's not that everything is canon. He says, as a fan, they're canon. But if you want, a buddy goes on to say, I believe also, yeah, but if we're talking about Toriyama's work, then that'd have to be left up to Toriyama Sensei. That's, yeah, no, you can't, they're not all canon. They're canon in alternate timelines. But if you're going by the main timeline, they're not canon. So let's just be very clear about that. That's, by the way, not to say that maybe Cooler doesn't exist within the Dragon Ball world and we've never met him. It's still possible. Hell, maybe this is a weird version of like the Tarble scenario where his brother is actually a nice guy and got banished or something. Regardless, Cooler technically is the strongest one of the group, and to the point where he completely and utterly blows away Namek level power levels, even Super Saiyan Goku. I say all this because, and even King Cold, as far as we can tell, it was still stronger than Frieza, even as an android. This is impressive because King Cold is only in the second state in terms of transformations. Like in terms of how we're comparing it to Frieza. Now, as I don't recall if it's stated if he can transform or not. I've heard a lot of people say he can't transform. As far as I know, maybe Toriyama himself came out and said that at one point. But I've never actually liked that. Like maybe he just can't get into his actual form, because we know the real form of their race is more Frieza's fourth form, if you will. That's the natural form of the race. But maybe, I don't know. Anyway, the point is, King Cold, even if he doesn't transform, is still stronger than Frieza. And Goku, even though he was still the winner, it took a while to win against Frieza. So, and that's just because Goku wasn't immediately trying to kill him half the time, even though he was enraged as hell. So if all three of these guys are on Namek at the same time, here's what happens. At first, things go about the same. Like, the gang is trying to find the Dragon Balls, traverse, whatnot. Eventually, though, they will come into confrontation with one of these guys, due to the fact that now there's three of them. Frieza can go off, find the last Dragon Ball from Guru, try to get the password from him and all that, whereas King Cold and Cooler just stay by the ship. So when the gang shows up, they are going to get completely and utterly curb stomped, because not even Goku at this point, not even Goku doing a Kaioken, and honestly, there probably wouldn't be any real reason to call the Ginyus. Although, to be fair, they'd probably do it anyway because they don't want to do the dirty work themselves. So Goku would still get trashed. Unfortunately, Goku wouldn't get a chance to heal because they're already in the ship. So they're going to get wasted by the father and the other son. And then they're just going to get monumentally pissed off that they can't use the Dragon Balls. So they're just going to blow up the whole planet eventually and just leave pissed off. This means Earth is not protected in any way, shape, or form. All the Z fighters are now dead. Like, all of them, just straight dead. There is no way to bring them back unless you go into the super timeline, or I can't remember which planet it was. Planet Cereal, was it? And because there was a set of Dragon Balls on that planet too. Their Shenron looks more, or what their version of it looks more amphibian-like, um, like a salamander dragon kind of. So in theory, King Kai could maybe say, "Hey, you got Yajirobe, you got to go," because Bulma would kill too. That's the thing. Like, it just ends in death. Eventually, Jiro has the androids awaken. He becomes the android. And actually, and theoretically, there's two avenues you can go here. One where Trunks just straight up isn't born because they never got together, or B, because, and which is actually the more likely scenario here, where where Trunks still shows up. Because, as we said, multiverse is a bitch, and the timeline shenanigans really do screw with the time travel and paradoxes and all that. Like, helping the androids in his time, and we know this for a fact, getting rid of the androids or at least handling them in that timeline did not fix Trunks' timeline. He had to do that on his own. So you could actually still have Trunks show up here because of the whole paradox bullshit. But he shows up and he's like, "Wait, what? Where is everybody? I don't understand. Mom, I mean, Bulma, where?" And, maybe see Dr. Britt say, "Where's Bulma? Where's Goku? Where is everybody?" "I don't know who you are, young man. I don't know how you know what you know. But I suggest you leave here now. There's nothing for anyone here anymore." And so, it's like, "What's going on?" Eventually, he goes and finds Chi-Chi. He's like, "Hi, I was a friend of your husband's. And, I was just wondering, where is everybody?" He's like, and she explains how they were all killed on Namek. He's like, "What? No, that's not supposed to happen. I don't understand." And he doesn't know about the hyperbolic time chamber, so he can't even use that to go and train for his world, maybe try to stop stuff from coming their way. So, he unfortunately, with no other option, goes to and leaves the timeline. Now, eventually, Cold, Cooler, and Frieza would probably make their way to Earth, but there's no guarantee it coincides with that time, with the timing, or they've taken over Earth and then he shows up. In which case, then he'd fight and kill Frieza and Cole without difficulty. But it's debatable whether or not he'd kill Cooler. Again, Cooler is not a canon character, and if that power level of 410 is anything to go by, we actually have to ask a very legitimate question. Do we think Trunks has a power level higher than that? I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think he does. In fact, I don't think he comes actually even close to that. And now I have a whole power level books lists that I don't have available in front of me. Here's what I think, because we know Frieza's power level was much higher than when he fought Goku. He thought he could handle Goku fine. Admittedly, he can't sense power levels. So Frieza is at minimum at a level where he could. So he's probably like at 180 or something like that. Cooler is probably somewhere in the realm of like a 200, 250. Like, he's stronger than his son. But for Trunks to be able to easily handle him, he'd have to be at least 300 million for his power. And then Goku probably had a power level even higher than that because he easily handled Trunks. So Cooler transforms completely. Even if I highball him to 300 million, which is, I think, a safe measurement for power level for Trunks, that's still not even close enough to beat Cooler. That means Cooler and him duke it out, and it's almost like fighting the androids again. Androids, I'm much better than the machine, boy, and he kills Trunks. So they're screwed. Cooler's now the head of the Empire. F's off. The androids eventually do show up and just wreak havoc. Eventually, Cell comes back from the past, because those shenanigans still happen. And then finds the androids, Jiro's probably "No, my creation, but you shouldn't be awake yet." It's like, "No. Yes, Father, I have awakened, and I'm here to fulfill my destiny. And my destiny is you are my destiny, brother, sister." "Now then, Father, unfortunately it seems like Goku is dead in this world, so I'm just gonna blow up the planet." Boom. It just, does his own thing, annihilating planets until eventually comes into contact with Cold, who probably doesn't need to train, and then gets absorbed by Cell as well. By blowing up the planet, he disturbs Boo's shell, and now Boo's shell is enough to tank pretty much a full blast Kamehameha from Gohan and Super Saiyan 2, a weaker Gohan, mind you. But is Cell blowing up the planet enough to basically awaken Boo with no power whatsoever? I mean, hypothetically, it is, but he'd actually be weaker than Cell by a huge margin. And so eventually Babidi and Dabura may find him. Maybe he even converts Cell to his cause. It all essentially just ends with Beerus waking up, being completely and utterly sick of these idiots, hakkaiing them out of existence, and then the Omni King essentially just wasting all of existence eventually, because there's no Goku to stop it. Unfortunately, in scenarios like this where everyone kind of just dies and there's no effective way to bring them back, you have a problem. You have a very big problem. So, yeah, if those two were on Namek, the show pretty much ends. But my opinion, let me know what you think. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.